Howdy folks, Foofy here. I'm sure most of you remember me from Wrath of the Lich King and Moonkin Raiding Basics. However, I will not be continuing MRB, but I will be making a Resto Druids basic due to the request of several players. Please note, I am nowhere near as amazing as some of the Druids in the top 10 guilds in the world. However, I am not the worst player who plays the game, so I'm only helping the people who are asking for it. So let us begin. Welcome to Resto Druid Basics 101. I'm your host, Foofy of Staghelm. I used to be a Moonkin, but I wanted to try something new for this expansion, so I decided to go Resto. The information I will be giving is current to patch 4.2, so if you're watching this after 4.2, the information may be incorrect. Also, I want people to know that healing is not all about HPS, or heals per second, or topping the charts, but what you can do as a healer. Raid awareness, the ability to adapt when another healer dies in battle, and quick reaction makes a great player. Not just, oh, my numbers are on top, whee! So in this video, I'm going to explain talents and spells, how they work, glyphs, gems, reforging, and haste caps, and the new mastery that is coming with 4.2. So, let us begin. As a Resto Druid, you have several HOTS, or heals over time spells, and direct casting spells that help you complete your job. The first spell we will be talking about is lifebloom. This is an amazing spell, and you want to do a 3-stack on your target. Several of our spells have the ability to fresh this hot, so don't be afraid to use them. If you're wondering why you want to keep this up, it is due to a talent we take called Malfurion's Gift. With your lifebloom rolling, it gives you a chance to proc Omen of Clarity. This spell gives you a 100% free cast of any casted spell. This covers Healing Touch and Regrowth when procced. You can easily cast Regrowth to quickly gain a nice haste buff called Nature's Grace. This is a 15% free haste that lasts 15 seconds. Since our HOTS are affected by haste, you want to try and use it as much as possible. However, do not use Regrowth unless there is an Omen of Clarity procced. Regrowth down to the point is a mana hog spell, and it's not something you wish to spam. Another spell we have is called Wild Growth. This is something that you want to keep on cooldown. It's just too amazing not to. Especially if you're a raid healer, well, even if you're a tank healer, you're going to use this spell. Rejuvenation is also another one of our major HOTS that we can spread around the raid. Just remember, this is a HOT, so it will only take up health bars per second, not instantly top them. Another neat spell we have is called Swiftmend. You can cast this on someone who has a rejuvenation or regrowth on them. It instantly heals your target. Now, if you are expecting to efflorescence, you will drop an EE circle on the ground, which will heal the 3 lowest health targets. This is another spell you want to keep on cooldown, especially with our new mastery, which will be explained later on in the video. There are of course other spells in our arsenal, but with this video, like I said, it's basics. I just wanted to go over the main things that we'd be doing, so let's continue on. Glyphs are another part of the Resto Druid life. Our glyphs are pretty much set in stone, so we don't have much to work with. We have 3 major, 3 prime, and 3 minor glyphs that you should be working with. The prime glyphs are Swiftmend, Lifebloom, and Rejuvenation. With Swiftmend, this glyph does not consume HOTS when used. Lifebloom increases the critical effect of your Lifebloom by 10%, and Rejuvenation increases the healing done by your Rejuvenation by 10%. Our major glyphs are Wild Growth, Rebirth, and Healing Touch. Wild Growth allows us to hit 1 extra target, Rebirth allows us to res a player to 100% health, and in Healing Touch, well, with Healing Touch, they nerfed Innervate in 4.2, so now you just pretty much should just cast it on yourself instead of other players. So you should drop the Innervate glyph. The glyph of the HT requires you to have Nature Swiftness, since the talent lowers the cooldown on your next NS, or Nature Swiftness. So, it's just something you could spec into. However, if you want to go Innervate, it's not as good as it's going to be. Finally, our minor glyphs are anything that you really wish them to be. However, I do recommend picking up Unbird and Rebirth, since carrying seeds around is annoying and so vanilla. Other than that, they are not set in stone, so they're more for you than raiding. Moving on to one of the newest parts of the game, we're going to be talking about reforging. Reforging was slightly confusing when it first came out for most people, but it's easy to learn, so don't ever be put off by it. So, let's first look at what reforging is and what stats you have available and what stats you can wish to add. Always remember though, you can only add secondary stats, not main stats. Some of the main stats are intellect, strength, stam, and agility. Secondary stats are spirit, haste, crit, mastery, expertise, and so forth. When reforging, you will always decrease a secondary stat for another secondary stat. This means that you can take mastery and turn it into haste. Now, not all of mastery will turn into haste, but the set amount will. Now, our gemming is very simple. Intellect is our best stat. When gemming, you want to use a meta gem called Ember Shadow Spirit Diamond. This meta gives us 54 intellect and 2% maximum mana. It requires 2 yellow gems. So for our yellow gems, you have 2 choices. A Reckless Ember Topaz, which is 20 int, 20 haste, or Artful Ember Topaz, which is 20 int, 20 mastery. Depending on how comfortable you are with your stats is which gem you'll probably go for. If you have a purple socket you wish to set, we also have Purified Demon's Eye. This gives 20 int and 20 spirit. However, a basic rule of thumb for gemming is if you can get 20 int plus with a single gem socket as a bonus, go for it. If not, go full int. Haste caps are another thing you may be wondering about. So to keep this simple, I'm going to give you just some numbers that you wish to shoot for. These of course will be numbers with and without raid buffs. So, let us begin. Rejuvenation is the first you want to shoot for, which out of raid it's 1602. Or with haste buffs, if you know you're going to get them, it's 916. These are usually just normal raid buffs that will affect this. Lifebloom is 1922, or in raid, 1221. And finally, Wild Growth. You'll be able to hit this cap in raids with no problem, so only give you one number. That's 2005. Now, when going for haste caps, remember, don't go straight for it. Go for a cap, then work on understats. As you get gear, you can work towards the next cap, then work on other stats. Rinse and repeat. However, never go straight for caps unless your gear can support it. Now, let's talk about the new mastery. The new mastery for Druids, called Harmony, has 2 effects. First, it buffs all of our direct heal spells by 10% plus the mastery on your gear. Direct heals are considered to be Nourish, Regrowth, Healing Touch, and Swift Mend. Second, you get a buff on you for 10 seconds. This is, as I said, stated by casting a direct heal. This includes Swift Mend, that buffs your HUDs by 10% plus mastery. This means we'll no longer chase HUDs. Since the old mastery goes bye-bye and whatnot, you pretty much will be watching for a 10-second buff and maintaining it, rather than just using your HUDs as your prime mastery. If tank healing, you're basically going to have this up 100% of the time. For AoE, raid healing, you should be using Swift Mend every time it comes off cooldown to refresh the mastery buff. In between Swift Mend casts, you should use direct heal to refresh the lifebloom you have on a tank. Instead of using lifebloom to refresh, use a regrowth, nourish, or healing touch to keep it up until Swift Mend comes off cooldown. Doing these 2 things should basically guarantee the benefit that your mastery will be up all the time, regardless of whether you are tank healing or raid healing. And with that, we're at the end of the video. I hope I was able to answer any questions you may have had, or at least, get you out there thinking about what you are currently doing. I would also like to thank Lisiana for helping me with this guide. She pretty much put up with me, my horrible spelling and grammar. I actually spelled her name wrong in the guide, even though I see her on the Moonkin Rating Basics. She's on my real ID, and yeah, it's just like, nope, I'm just gonna spell it wrong. But I want to thank her for that. So thank you, Lisa, and I hope you all have fun in Firelands and beyond. So if you excuse me, I have an annoying rogue to deal with.